Good morning, and thank you very much for joining us. I am Yorifola. I need the noise in the background to die. Okay, there it is. Thank you very much. We were laughing about it because some of my friends here were first of all, we got Curtis Adigba. He's a lawyer and public affairs analyst, and then we've got good morning, and thank you very much for being here. And then we've got Roy, Ambassador Roy Okideve. We worked on this. We worked on this before coming on air. It's a Benin name with all sorts of letters that you don't pronounce. Ohidevie. 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 Thank you very much. But subsequent, I'm going to make it Roy, if you don't mind.
No, it's cool. It's cool.
And while we were laughing was that one of them, I won't tell you which, was asking, when am I going to bring my own 4 wives onto air to indicate that I'm a powerful man, not just, in terms of television and in the studio, but also at home. Most Nigerians on WhatsApp will understand where that is coming from. But mum's the word. I'm not saying anything more. In fact, what we wanted to discuss this morning, gentlemen, was well, the Security Council meeting that that held, it happened to coincide, I think the day before or so, maybe a day or two before, and in the Senate, one of the distinguished senators had got up to opine that the president needed to resign, and for some reason there was discussion about that. He is the minority leader in the Senate, the minority leader. And I was wondering why the presidency, the spokesroom, if there's any such thing, the spokesman for the president, thought that was worthy of some sort of a comment, because as far as I was concerned, he was doing his job. He's the minority leader. It's a democracy. He's entirely allowed to call for the resignation of the president, if that's the way he feels about it. It's just one voice in the Senate, and metaphorically speaking, perhaps one voice in 220 million or however many we are. So entirely in order. Now, that was my own rant. That was my own rant personally. But onto the much more important aspect of the security meeting, which, by the way, it has been clarified, if it needed to be clarified, that it had nothing, or the whole matter about the call from the National Assembly by a minority leader for the president to step down wasn't even on the radar. Didn't come up at all. It wasn't an extraordinary meeting. It wasn't an emergency meeting. It was a scheduled meeting. I believe they have these things quarterly, and it was to review the state of security. Now you're talking. State of security, that has always been our interest. We've always talked about that. In fact, that's what we will be talking about. But I just had to, as I said, maybe this morning is something of a ranting morning. I've ranted, first of all, about the bringing 4 wives on to the public forum where we're talking national issues. What does 4 wives? My 4 wives should rise so that they can see that I'm powerful, not just here. Okay, haven't had my little joke there. And then on to one man exercising his democratic right. But to come onto the substance of the matter, gentlemen, it was fitting that the Security Council should meet, even as it was a quarterly meeting, scheduled meeting, because security has taken center stage in our country. Maybe I could start off with Roy. Give me your thoughts on, first of all, most people think, and we discussed this even this week, that as far as security is concerned, when it comes to all these bandits and all these terrorists, Boko Haram, call them what you will, all the bad guys, our people felt that we've been dealing with it with something of kid gloves. And this was set in context of when we heard that the president had approved air support for the ground troops that have been working on this. And we had that kind of a conversation. So that they're meeting now, fitting and timely, but we haven't heard yet what came out. But certainly it is a topic we do not agree.
Well, thank you very much. And I like the opening. it has a lot of calming effect on the topic we're going to discuss. Sure. So we don't have people traumatic that we have to leave Nigeria, okay? But having said that, I want to use the opening of the kid gloves.
Sure.
I think we are handling security without gloves. We are not even wearing gloves. So we shouldn't say we are even using kid gloves. Now, the first thing that you need to look at is that the personnel that we have in Nigeria is world standard and world class.
Okay, our military
Both
personnel.
the police, the army, the DSS.
Our security personnel.
Yes, because so many were trained abroad. So many have trained themselves. If you go to universities now where they do diploma in security, so many security institutes.
Okay.
You will see police officers, DSS, the army, building themselves in international standards.
And let me say this,
and they
I beg your pardon, let me say this, now that I didn't say it when I was introducing you, but you are you're an army veteran, and you retired from the special forces. And that's, let's just leave it at that.
Thank you very much. You know, so, and a lot of people have upgraded themselves. Now, we even have trainings abroad. We take our military, we take our policemen to be trained abroad, and we bring them back. You know, the challenge that we have in Nigeria, it's operational logistics. Operational logistics in the terms of equipment and technology. Another area that we have is motivation. If you see the number of men being deployed once there is an election, you will be asking yourself, is it true we don't have enough policemen? Okay? Even for the military. You don't need the Air Force to be flying all the time. There are technological devices. Let me use the word drone, if you agree with me.
Yes.
That could go and do all of those area mapping and detect where there are movements, suspicious movements, and that could not be correlated with human communities, civilian communities. Then you know these are bandits, these are terrorist hideouts. Then before you grow to the extent of the plane itself going to do the bombing and all of that, then for the military, you don't need all your troops in the bush all the time looking for water to drink, crying that our vehicle is broken down. There are equipments that can do track mapping. There are equipments that can do tracing of movement, illicit movement. And the troops know where they are going to already. They design their routes, they go with enough what they need, and they hit what they want to hit.
But why haven't we had the successes that Nigerians have been expecting? When you started off by saying, never mind kid gloves, we hardly wear any gloves, was that a criticism that we haven't actually achieved the potential that you, for instance, know we have?
I'm closing there so that we can allow our legal people to give us legal direction. Okay. Now, you see, once you see all of this, we have successes.
Yes,
we have had successes, but the successes are not sustained. Then the trajectory does not hit consistency. When you see the successes that we have, it opens those communities, and you pack the people from there to an IDP camp, and you bring in the NGOs, and business starts up. All those kind of businesses that do not help the people. And the community does not regenerate back into commercial. The community does not grow back into subsistency. And all these terrorists, bandits can come and reclaim it. And what is the success? Then
so what's wrong with us?
Dead, the people that were dead, the criminals, the Boko Haram that were captured, are taken for ideology revamp. Then the soldiers that were dead are not even cared for. The payment for their gratuity is lagging behind. Then you see, you need to come and take back Baga. You need to come and take back Munguno. You need to come and take back this place. Why? But there are other agencies that could be vitalized enough. The policing could have retaken those places. The DSS could have shown presence. The immigration could have shown presence to even screen people that are coming back into such communities. So we need such sustainability.
Okay.
We need to put a trajectory.
I hear you, and I know that we'll bring it back to you. And some all the things you said, I was speaking with a retired general friend, and he was commenting privately off air about our program when we were talking about the deployment of Air Force. I mean, of air support. And he was saying that, look, I hope we haven't got it wrong. It's intelligence first, most importantly, intelligence first. Then you bring the police into it, and ultimately you hand over to the army. This whole matter about air support, he wasn't too impressed with it. Give me your impressions, if you will.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Yori. Let me first of all say clearly that I'm not a security expert. but I'm a citizen of this country, and I have general knowledge about...
And you keep an eye on developments.
About what security is. The thing is that we have too many security experts who don't know anything about security like me and pontificate too much on what the security should be. Globally, majority of the nations in the world are confronting one level of insecurity or the other. Now, the difference is how these things are dealt with. I also want to say that the security infrastructure and architecture that we have in this country is outdated. These things were established when Nigeria had a population of less than 50 million.
Okay.
We've grown far above that, 200 million. It is difficult for one police unit, a national police unit, to police every part of this country and do it successfully. Now, we are not talking about the Boko Haram alone when you talk about insecurity, but that's the major threat to our national security. And that itself is not a traditional warfare. It's an asymmetric warfare. Yes, Boko Haram is significantly degraded, but they still retain the capacity to strike on soft targets and take on targets by surprise. And that's what they need to do. Now, the problem with security, which has to do with, which is terror-based, is that the government can be right 99%. And nobody will praise the government. But once the terrorists are right 1%, then the 99% becomes insignificant. And so this is the challenge. But you see, my problem is that all we are doing with security is to pinprick. Just use the pin, touch the issues that we want to identify. The underlying factors are there. They are the key factors. We have population explosion in this country. And yet what one leader can show to us is how proficient or powerful he is at home and in the National Assembly by bringing 4 wives, as if to say to us, until you have 4 wives, you are not powerful. The problem of unemployment, the world is a global village right now. The man in my village wants to live like the man in America. Because he has access to television. So he can see everything.
The internet.
And so if he cannot make ends meet, if he cannot achieve the lifestyle that he wants by legitimate economic activities, then he begins to think about, what do I do to hurt the next person and take advantage?
So you begin to touch on development there. But what do you think when Roy said morale is a part of it and explained it? The morale aspect of our boys in uniform.
Look, the issue of morale is an important one, and but again, that is left for the military hierarchy. Now, all that you hear every day is how the fact that the service chiefs have not been changed is affecting the morale of the boys.
And they should come and go.
There is no hard data to show Nigerians that if you remove the service chiefs, you have then deployed the silver bullet to solve the insecurity problem of the country. And I am not saying there is no need to change the service chief. That decision is exclusively that of the president, who is the commander-in-chief, who has got access to security and intelligent information about the state of the war. Now, the problem I have is that we tend to think that the security chiefs are the ones fighting the war. They are policy and decision makers. They are actually not fighting the war. The guys who are fighting the war are the commanders and the troops on ground. Now, one big problem that I think we have not identified is, like he said, we have good guys, but do we have them in sufficient number to deploy? The rule of the thumb.
Is their morale high?
Yes.
Enough?
The rule of the thumb in fighting insurgency globally is that for a population of 1,000 civilians, you need 20 troops to be able to secure the territories that you have taken and to hold on to that territory and then push back. So do we have that? Do we have enough personnel to do that? Do we have enough equipment? And when you talk to people, those who want to politicize security, all they say to you, the government has failed absolutely in dealing with security. But the problem of insecurity did not start now. It's been building over the years. And arsonists, those who lit the fire, are pretending to be firefighters.
Yeah. And you pointed out that the architecture, security architecture,
is insufficient.
It's virtually the same you are guessing, since you said that you're not a security professional, with when we were something in 50, 60 million population. Yeah. And now here we are.
We've exploded. And in terms of population, what have we done? What is the population of the Nigerian police? As good as they are, like Roy said. Yes, what is the population? Let's say 400. Out of these 400, I can tell you, close to 200,000 are on civil duty. Either they are with one governor, deputy governor, secretary to the government, National Assembly members, supermarkets, banks, okay? And so what is left to police the communities?
Well, Roy, thank you, first of all, for giving us that overview, including the morale. It's important because, as you said, our people, our boys in uniform, they go outside our shores and they come back with accolades of excellence, you know, that kind of a thing. But I always say this, that there's very little that we will say in fora like this when we discuss these matters nationally, that the military chiefs themselves and experts don't well know. They study these things. They go to all sorts of, they have all sorts of concerns. It sometimes worries me, what's going on here? Because people who have knowledge will come and share part of it with us. But I'm sure those guys, the commanders, the security chiefs and all those guys also have knowledge of this. Is it that indeed we are operating out of our depth? Are we operating out of our depth? You know, is that it?
Well, thank you. Thank you, Barrister, for your inputs. You see, I'm sorry, maybe I spoke too fast and too loud on some issues. But let me say this. When there is a security breach ongoing, either in banditry, terrorism, kidnapping, once it becomes a sequence, okay, it grows in dynamics. It quickly swallows your prediction. Once I come to these premises to breach a vehicle, steal things in a car, and everybody says, how did they do it? You go to your camera, you see how the criminal did it, or you arrest the criminal, and he says, I use salt or something to break the glass, or whatever they go, viral videos go, it becomes obsolete. Yeah. No criminal will come into these premises to hit that again. If he does, he's not in tune with the other guys. So they move to another level. So when you want to counter insecurity, you should resist procrastination. You should resist distraction. You see, you should put in place a gradient trajectory to meet and mitigate opportunities of crime and criminal activities. One of the biggest mitigation means is the judiciary, especially in implementing penalties, okay? Another one is procurement. Once you see a lot of procurement requests in the National Assembly, going through Senate for approval, going through ministries, Ministry of Defense, Ministry of this and that, police, army, you see this procurement request for one gadget, one device, one procedure. Before approval, it has gone obsolete. They have moved to another level. And that is when we are talking about products paid for in President Jonathan's time. Yeah. Arriving now. Then some of the requests made now, some have arrived, but some too, there are some distraction, bureaucracy that are now causing some bottlenecks. And by the time you process and release for procurement, that product is not necessary anymore. Now, we saw a device with some criminals that they could block the IG monitoring team from even tracking them. It was on TV. We saw another device that could stop a normal tracking of a vehicle. So the guy gives it to criminals, they steal your vehicle, they put it in and put it on. So nobody can track that vehicle till they deliver it to him. You know, so these guys move. Criminals move. Then we are talking about ISIS, ISWAP. These are people that have opportunities to procure whatever level of technology they want to get, to breach yours, to counter yours, to ban yours from breaching theirs. So we need a lot of
need to
access.
We need to be steps ahead of the
Yes,
guys.
a lot of approvals.
And perhaps that's what you're saying
We're
not doing.
Yeah.
We're not staying ahead, because it makes so much sense what you're saying, but I still fall back on my former position that there must be expertise within the high commands as well.
I think we also have to understand that the war we are fighting with terrorists is not a normal war. It's a war that is anchored on certain ideologies.
Okay.
That says, look, what you are fighting for is of supreme nature. You are doing the battle of one God somewhere, and that if you die in the process of fighting that war, you'll be rewarded with heaven.
With vengeance.
Yeah, so it's an ideological war. And look, there is nowhere, there's no history.
But sir, aren't our boys in uniform also fighting the same, with the same kind of ammunition? Their own ideology is patriotism and nationalism.
Yes, but
and
again,
they will pay the ultimate price if necessary.
Yeah, but again, you have to put them on an imaginary scale.
Okay.
And then say which is more fervent.
Oh, okay.
When you have an ideology that is anchored on benefits of hereafter versus patriotism to a country,
ideals.
You see the kind of point I'm trying to make. So it is not enough. It is not enough to just deploy military hardwares and go out to kill all of them and win. Former National Security Advisor James Hadley to President Bush said, Mr. President, we cannot kill our way out of Afghanistan. We have got to deploy both the carrot
and the stick.
What that means is you have to get certain people, do certain things for the community, and get certain people to be on your side. Now, there is no history, like I said, of a terror group being defeated by the use of force alone. The United States has been in Afghanistan for close to 20 years or thereabout. As we speak right now, they are trying to make peace somehow. The president invited them to Camp David recently, and then that was opposed, and he had to cancel the meeting. As I speak to you, the U.S. is taking a lot of casualty in Afghanistan.
One moment, please, because Reverend Dominic has come on the line from Ali Mosho. Good morning, Reverend.
Good morning, Yori. How are you today?
Very well, thank you.
Good morning to your two gentlemen there.
Sure.
Yori, of course, you know I'm not a security expert. But there's something bothers me on this war. Few weeks ago, Egyptians sentenced about 32 people. Those 32 people they sentenced to jail terms of different jail terms. Some of them are not militants. Some of them are the supporters of these insurgents. Since 2012, we have imagined this war. There's no one single person, I'm going to support me right or wrong. I've not seen one person that's jailed as actor or supporting the actor. What kind of a nation is this? There's no way we are going to fight this battle if there's no deterrence. Deterrence is saying that we must punish a man or a woman who have put us in this quagmire. Remember today, we are the third most dangerous nation in the world. We are now trailing before, Sudan or whatever, in Africa. Now, in Africa, we're number 3. Sudan is number 4. The other one is a what? Why should we have a nation that way and nobody is doing anything? Number 3, how come I'm a victim of civil war? We were defeated in Southeast because of hunger. How come today the people that fight us, they feed well? If you look at these soldiers, they feed well, they keep well, they have all good equipment. Where do we come to them? At this time, we're fighting them from all through, from Chad, from Niger, from Cameroon, they're in the center. How did they get their supplies? This question must be answered. If we cut off the supply, just what we did in Civil War, you know they cut off supply food in Civil War, hunger came. Hunger did what gun cannot do. We must cut supply from this world and punish people who support them. They're Nigerians, they're politicians, they may be pastors, they may be moms, they may be soldiers. Number 5, we are recruiting the insurgents back to the military. We are doing what we do is we are sitting on keg of gunpowder. By taking an insurgent back to the army, and insurgents can never be paid. he will never repent. Nigeria will stop recruiting different soldiers back in the military. I beg them. Thank you.
Thank you very much for calling in, Reverend. And you made this point earlier when you called on a similar matter earlier in the week about Boko Haram apparently being, reset, whatever the military terminology is, reset them. Now they're fighting men, put them back in the army. And Reverend Dominic has said that he didn't quite see the logic of that. But the question he asked about, let me bring that to you, Roy, the question about their supplies. How do they, vehicles, food, fuel, and so on and so forth. Dominic is wondering how is that untouched?
Well, let's take it like this. Let's do a give and take. Now we know that when the EFCC came on board with the CBN and the BVN came on board, financial transactions were tracked. And we know that limited opportunities for this money laundering and all that. That was also one of the targets. But we can't overlook opportunities for people to now start trading arms for money. We now stop looking opportunities of people trading precious stones for arms, drugs for arms. We have opportunities for people. There was a leaked issue too of people being exchanged for money. When they kidnap some people, you ask the government to pay you so and so amount, and you release those people back to the government.
Allegedly, because government is not quick to admit.
But there are also cases of ransom which have been going on, reported and unreported. And these have allowed opportunities for exchange of kidnapped victims for money. Okay? So this is local content. Then we know also that there are...
One moment, sir. I beg your pardon for interrupting you, but Mr. Yakub has come on the line from Dokwemu. Good morning, sir.
Yeah, good morning, Shikari.
Thank you for calling.
And good morning to your guest. Mr. Curtis Adiba, good morning, sir.
Morning, thank you.
Yeah, Shikari, let me begin by saying that I totally agree with Mr. Curtis Adiba that our security attention in this country is outdated, really, really outdated. Is it, Shijori?
But not being a military man, how would you?
I'm not a military man, but I can see something on ground. Shijori, we read the news every day. For example, now this is the best program ever in this country because we got our information from this very particular program, and I have never seen any television station giving us this kind of opportunity. So, Shijori, God will bless you. Let me say that. So,
thank you, sir.
I will say that, Shijori, you see. Even I'm of opinion of being even changing this, all these are statistics. But usually the question we need to ask ourselves is this: if we're changing all these statistics, and then without a right weapon to fight these people, usually we can't still win the war. The issue is this: the statistics they are there, and then for me, I'm of opinion I may be right, I may be wrong. They have overstayed, yes, but the issue is this: if we change them today, you will have the right weapon to give those people in the war front. One of your programs in this station, Babajide Otitoloju, always mentioned in
journalist hangout,
that Chadian soldiers, they are always equipped, more equipped than Nigerian soldiers. Chief Doris, the question I want to ask is that, does it mean that Chadian government, they have more resources, I'm talking about money, to finance their soldiers more than Nigerians? So we have the resources in this country. What stops us not to invest much more money? Even the money that we invested in our military weapons, nobody know how this money was paid. That is another thing. I want to ask the gentleman in the studio. I'm talking about the military. Retired military that's in the studio.
The military
Mr. President paid for Tucano, Super Tucano. We are keeping waiting for this hard weapon to come down to this country. I'm of opinion that Mr. President should go more to be able to get this super to come so that we can finish these people in time, because the ideology of this Boko Haram, it is not easy to defeat, because Curtis Adiba said it in his video earlier. These people tell themselves, if we got killed in the process of this fighting win this war, you go to paradise. Which is no lie. It is a lie from the pit of hell, according to Babajite Otitology. So, having said that, Chibiori, see, it is only God will help us. And then Mr. President should know that if he has people watching this video, he can get a valid information from this program. Because there are some people within the presidency, they are not telling our president the truth. And then Mr. President should be able to write this on the face of this newspaper every day, so that he can get the truth of the matter. God Almighty will help us. Thank and God bless you.
All right, then. Thank you very much for calling in. I got to go off on a break now. Maybe when we come back, I don't know, either of the gentlemen might like to take on the whole matter about what exactly, what kind of advice is the president getting? Is he getting good advice? Is he getting advice that he wants to hear? Is he, you know, that kind of a thing? You know, these are subjects that are always discussed. Stay with us, please. We'll be right back, and of course, we'll continue taking your calls. Okay, welcome back, and we're looking at security issues generally against the backdrop of yesterday's meeting of the service chiefs, no, it was the National Security Council, and it was to review the general state of our security. We left on, there was the question of advice, you know, what kind of advice was the president getting? He's in charge, the buck stops on his table, but, you know, he needs, that's what ministries and ministers are for, and indeed special advisors. Did you want to comment on that?
Mr. Yori, the president is not starving from lack of advice. He's got his military men in the field. And like we say, the buck stops on his desk. He's the commander-in-chief of the armed forces. Now he has access to intelligence. He gets daily briefings on the state of the war and all that. But the reality of the situation, like I said, each time there is a violation of the peaceful atmosphere, again, the emotion becomes very raw, that nothing is being done. Okay. But we live in a country where there was a time when school children cannot stay in their schools. We had a situation where some people went to school one night, murdered over 200 boys who were sleeping. Our girls were being kidnapped from school. Bombs were going off in different cities. You couldn't go to church on Sunday and feel at ease. Same for the mosque. And I'm not saying there's a justification for what is going on, but we must make we must put in different columns the security problems that we have. We have terrorism or insurgency in the northeast of the country that is beginning to move to other parts of the country, especially the northwest. But in other parts of the country, majorly, what we have are conflicts between herdsmen and farmers, outright criminality of people kidnapping others,
for money,
or waylaying people on the road and robbing them of their lives, sometimes of their lives and property. And this is the reason why we need all our leaders to come together instead of politicizing the issue of security. Now, in the last 1 week, the leadership of the National Assembly, the Senate President spoke, and he said, look, we are about to amend the Constitution. The security infrastructure and architecture that we have in this country is inadequate. It has become obsolete. It cannot solve our problem. That's a good step in the right direction. And then we had a motion in the House of Representatives calling on the president to sack the service chiefs. And if you talk to different people, they tell you different things. Some will say they're playing politics. Others will say, oh, they're playing to the gallery. Others will say, oh, it's a vote of no confidence in the president. But the reality is that these leaders need to come together. The leadership of the National Assembly comes from the same party with Mr. President. They can go to Mr. President and say, Mr. President, we need more information on security. What is happening? Why are you retaining your service chiefs? Why are they still in place? They should have been changed by now, you understand?
Instead of playing to the gallery.
Instead of playing to the gallery and coming for motions and all
Super
those
has
things.
come on from Victoria Island. Good morning, Super.
And Happy New Year to you.
Thank you very much for calling in. Indeed, compliments of the season here.
And,
This is the last day of January.
Yeah, sure. And good morning to your wonderful guest in the studio.
Thank you.
Uncle Yori, I must say this. I am one of those people, or maybe in support of those that are calling for the change of the leaders of the military. Although I'm not saying they should be fired, I'm not saying they should be sacked, but at least a change. I'll give you an example. When I was growing up, I used to play football. There is a key player that we have in our team. Do you know that the day that guy will not play, all the morale of the rest of the boys will be down, and we will lose that game? Because this security issue that we are fighting calls for morale. When we have that morale, we will win the game. But if there is no morale, the morale will be down. Take another example for Barcelona. In Barcelona, any day, Leo Chaka, go and check out the record. Any day Lionel Messi did not play, that day Barca will lose. I'm not calling for them to be fired, but at least a change will do us good so that we can have new strategies in our military force, because they've done so well.
Okay.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much for calling in. Did you want to let me bring that to you? The matter of we're going back to the morale, and you actually touched on it in passing, and coming back to morale, which is what's
okay. There was a caller before him that talked about the Tucano. I would like to say that we mentioned it in our opening that bureaucracy for approvals, bottlenecks for procurement, and personal interest for whose company will we use, and all that gets it murky. That it takes so long, and we need to fine-tune that. So that was what he was talking about. So when we talk about morale, people always think about finance.
Okay.
People always think about money. You know, when you talk about morale, people always think about money. And it's not a major content to provide morale. One of the greatest content for morale is confidence. When the troop has confidence, confidence is built from taking care of your fears. So what are your fears?
Confidence that the government and the people have their back.
Yes.
That is where we are going to now. You know, confidence that if I die, would my 2 kids be taken care of to university level? If I die, because we have troops that have served outside this country. They know what it is for global standard to build morale. You know, so when you go out to fight, when your uniform wants out, your boots wants out, then for insurance too.
Oh dear.
Anything that comes against you, the medical that you receive, are you taking the appropriate treatment? Those guys that got shot, that you know were your colleagues, you are hearing from the hospital, was he flown abroad to be treated? Was the treatment quick enough to stop any other complications? Was that care and concern and exigency put in place? If maybe a big man's son got accident on a bike, or maybe there was a plane crash somewhere, those kind of concerns. You know, so it builds confidence in the men, you know, and especially when they take over.
So it comes back to just knowing that they have our back. That for uniformed men in operations to be very conscious of the idea that what we're doing is worthwhile because the government that put us here and the people of Nigeria have our back. But oftentimes you have, critical comments. But Anthony in Norway, good morning, Anthony in Norway. Good morning.
Good morning, Uncle Yori.
Thank you very much for calling in, sir.
I greet everyone on the team.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah, my brother. Uncle Yori, Nigerian people should know that this government, and I want to contribute. So far, this government, Muhammadu Buhari, and his cabal, continue doing that. There's nothing with security. That's nothing. That's nothing because, and they know anybody that is saying that is not getting the right.
Anthony, I'm afraid that line, the line is very, very bad. I mean, no, it's not that far in technological terms. The line is very, very bad. So it was a bit difficult, Anthony. See if you could connect with us again. Maybe the line will get better. Sometimes it does.
You know, Roy is the military veteran person, and I think I don't want to agree with him completely that when you're talking about the morale of soldiers, money is not involved. I think it's
No. I didn't say money is not involved.
Money is not the
In fact, I said money is not the major content.
It's not the major content.
So you can replay
but
me.
I want to even say
not
that
a major content.
Okay.
But I want to say money is the major content.
Okay.
That's where I differ from you. Because all that we're talking about, the guarantee or the assurance that if I die in this process, my case will be looked after. It's a function of money. Who provides that money?
It's not a function of money.
No, I'm coming, sir. Let me. Because you see, because
you can come back. I'll come back to you and you can rebut.
whether it's in form of an investment that yields the necessary funds that will take care of the family and the children, or it's in terms of benefit, money is still at the center of it.
Because when he was speaking, among other things, and I winced a bit there, something about the boots wearing out.
I know.
I hope it doesn't ever come to that, because I can't imagine a soldier with worn out equipment.
Well, it's a possibility when you are fighting war. I mean, it does happen.
Okay.
But then we should have a contingency plan to ensure that that doesn't happen. But in reality, it does happen. But the point I'm trying to make is that he talked about insurance. It's a morale booster. But then it's also done by funds.
Indeed.
It talks about medical evacuation abroad. Funds have to be available for that to happen within the military. Now, so the question we should be asking ourselves, does the military get enough budget to prosecute their activities, including wars and defending the country? Do you understand?
Did you just say, does the military get enough budget?
Do they get enough in terms of...
There are those who will say that they get a princely sum and they're not begrudging them that because they know that these things...
How much is the military budget in the 2020 budget? Can you tell me vis-a-vis the others?
Okay.
America's budget is 718 billion.
Okay. Let's come to... We'll come back to that, but I don't
want to lose... I'm not comparing the resources.
I know, but I don't want to lose Emmanuel in Zaria. Good morning, sir.
Morning, sir.
Thank you for calling in. Go ahead, please.
Thank you. Good morning, all.
Thank you for calling. Good morning.
I want to thank you for this program. It's a very wonderful program. I think the fight against the insurgency, the army are trying, but we need the change. They need to change the service chiefs, because that is gospel truth. I'm talking from experience. When in 2015, when Buhari came in, you see, because of the morale, because of the change, the soldiers were fighting with high morale. Because they said Jonathan had gone, because things were bad during Jonathan, but with the coming of Buhari, because of the promises he promised us, the soldiers fought with morale. And you can see during that time, so many villages, so many local governments were liberated. So the army need morale, just like the veteran said. So many things are wrong in the field. For example, I'm talking from experience because I've been there. When I served in Mungunu, there was a time we went to Marte for an attack, and we came in contact with the Boko Haram. We fought them, and when we proceed towards Dikwa, we met the Chadian army. In short, it's a disgrace to the Nigerian army. The Chadian army were having 2 major generals with them, while we were only having a colonel. And if you see the weapons they were using, you will be surprised. Our weapons are outdated weapons. Weapons that were bought during Shagari's time. Those are the weapons we are using. The latest weapon they bought, the T-72, it was outdated, made in 1972 in Ukraine. So what are we saying now? Let them provide the army with weapons, latest weapons, so that these guys are ready to fight. They are ready to fight, but the government are not doing anything. In time of when an army man is injured or this thing, so we have so many of them in the hospital. Go to 44 and see. You will cry. Then that will not boost the the morale of rest of the troops to fight. I remember when we were in the northeast, if we hear gunshot, the only thing we say, where they day, where they day. If it is in this direction, we run towards the other direction. Nobody is ready to fight. So please, let the truth be said. That is what is going on in this country. As long as these people are there, this war will not finish because the generals are making money out of this thing. Money, a lot of money, while the troops are dying. So please tell them, let us tell ourselves the truth, not that the army cannot fight. We have one of the best army in Nigeria, in the world, sorry. Because our army, the guys, we have mind. If we can go to Liberia, Sierra Leone, Somalia, and come back with good report, then talk less of our country. So please.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for calling in, Emmanuel. And that was the distressing testimony from a man who knows because he's been there and he's done that.
So, you see, why I said not money, I would like him to understand. He is looking at the budget. The soldier is not after, come and pay me 2 million naira per month. Now, there are policies we have, military rules of engagement. One of the military rules of engagement also captures the tenure of service chiefs, also captures the tenure of you being in a combat zone. How long am I posted to a combat zone? How long do I have to stay there and come back? You know, so when I overstay that tenure, there is depreciation in my capacity, in my capability, in my motivation. So you don't really capture all those like say they need money. No. When we say money, we are not talking about the money that goes to government to run the business. No. We are not talking about the money that is used to treat the soldiers. We are saying the military guys are not after increase to say, give us, if you give them 2 million naira per head and they go there, they will just be guinea pigs. Why? Because the coordinates to create an effective fighting troop, when I joined the army, salary was 3,000 naira. Those days in the 90s. And you don't dare when it comes to military appearance in a crisis situation. But when you now say you lose track of the principles of engagement that should guide him to know that these are my principles and they are effective. Once they lose effect, me and you were in one location. You were posted to Northeast together. You are posted out of Northeast, and I'm still there. You know, it gives a lot of depreciation.
I hear what you're saying.
Yeah.
We're fortunate this morning on our program. Well, we actually usually are. But this morning, we're actually having guys, some of who have actually been on the field of operation. It's rare to actually have them. And Emmanuel, it was the most distressing testimony that he gave us. But Macaulay in the UK, good morning, sir.
Hello, good morning, Uncle Yori, and good morning to your panelists in there.
Sure. Good morning.
Nigeria is set out to be a very great nation. We have extremely patriotic people. But part of the issues we have is corruption-based. Did you hear what Emmanuel said? Comparing the Nigerian army, who is supposed to be the giant of Africa, with Chadian soldiers in a frame of equipment. And then he said they had a colonel who is leading them. And Chadian unit has 2 major generals. How many of our major generals are unit commanders in the Northeast? How many of them? That is one. Secondly, let's talk about the service chief. Part of the issues they have now, a lot of people who are the special advisors who have thought that by now they will be service chief, they will be retired before the service chiefs are removed. That is part of the morale they are talking about. And the men who are fighting know this, that these guys, they have tried their best, let them go. Why is our president keeping them? There's politics in the army. And this is part of the thing that is affecting us. To be honest, at the moment, look at what equipment the army have. I realize the fact that the army are giving budgets, but how many of those budgets is cash-based?
Okay.
Hello?
We can hear you. We can hear you.
Okay. How many of those budgets, how many cash the government release to the army? It's not the budget. What is the cash backup do they have? Why don't we declare a state of emergency in Nigeria now? Every state in Nigeria has problems. Look at Kaduna Abuja Road, there's problem. Look at Zamfara, there's problem. Look at Katsina, there's problem. Look at Kano, there's problem. Look at Adamawa, there's problem. Boko Haram came into Michigan and killed people and executed the current president so that they can add the religious factor into it. The boy that was going to be was executed. And look at the statement, because they want to bring religion into it. A country that starts a religion war does not end. And those that start it, by the grace of God, whoever is standing that will not allow Nigeria to move forward, the Holy Ghost will destroy them at their foundation.
Thank you very much for calling in. Well, you see, you brought a religious dimension into it at the very, very end yourself. Curtis, we've been hearing everything that's being said, and I wonder, the military knows this. The president knows this. We're being given different aspects of morale. And people are explaining why they are saying service chiefs, that far from it being a silver bullet, but we've just heard some other dimensions that perhaps non-military people might not have been aware of, that they themselves are very, very keenly aware of that. There's a sense in which sometimes it doesn't even pay me to be as patriotic as people would expect.
Yeah, I mean, and the issue that unless the service chiefs are removed and their subordinates are promoted to their positions, we basically lead to high morale for the troops and all that. Like I said, I'm not a military expert, but I do know that the troops who are fighting have no chance of becoming service chiefs. The real fighters in the battlefront are not going to be service chiefs. Okay? I mean, like he said, if the Nigerian troop is being led by a colonel, like Emmanuel said.
Yes.
A colonel is not going to be service chief. Okay, but the colonel has got to liaise with his commanders, his bosses in the office. Maybe that change might help the colonel, I don't know.
Okay.
Somebody used the analogy of a football team where you change a coach and then the same boys who were losing all their matches will start picking up.
And I think the last caller actually used
Messi or something.
President Buhari.
Yes.
That when President Buhari came on, there was a lot more morale, vigor. Maybe, I don't know if it is still there or if it has cooled a bit.
If you understand the nature of insecurity and the nature of terror, it happens in ebbs and flows. Sometimes you have the upper hand. Some other times you take the backside and they come and all that until you can't sustain the momentum, like he said, and be able to push back to the point whereby you could then begin to deploy other tactics, not necessarily the use of force, to try and take some people out of that camp to your side and see how you can rehabilitate them and put them back into society.
Yeah.
So it's not just going to be about war.
Okay.
That's the point I'm trying to make.
In closing, the meeting of yesterday where the president was meeting with all the military high command, the Security Council meeting, well, one hopes that, especially when one bears in mind the painful testimony of Emmanuel calling in, was it from the UK or was it? No, it was from Zaria. Emmanuel was in Zaria, but haven't been a man in uniform, in full engagement, and those harrowing things he said, I wonder, I hope the meeting encompassed that, because we are made to know that the meeting was to review the state of security. Now, if Emmanuel's testimony gave us a glimpse, an insight into what most Nigerians can never know, not wearing uniforms themselves, it's worrisome. It's worrisome. I don't need to go over it. You heard it yourself. He said oftentimes we'll be led by a colonel, and we have other, thankfully they're friendly, forces, and they're led by major generals. They have state-of-the-art weaponry. We have some weaponry that goes back to Shagari's time. Yeah. I don't know. We're just going to, we hope that all of what they were deliberating on yesterday takes account of all of this, so that Nigerians can be satisfied that we are doing our best. You said yourself that never mind kid gloves, we're not even wearing any gloves at all.
I think Roy can speak to that.
Okay, let me just, we are closing.
We just have about a minute left.
So we are closing, so we don't need to now digress much. In
fact, we're out of time. Very briefly.
In closing, I just advise that we look at stability and we look at trajectory. We need to move ahead of the dynamics of the insurgency, dynamics of the insecurity. Then we need stability based on the fact that all agencies must apply their statutory roles. Even the judiciary, those courts for terrorism should face the penalties for terrorism. If you catch kids for terrorism, you can go radicalize them or all that. But in the military too, we should have stability in applying all the policies, terms of engagement, in combat, all of that.
Thank you very much, Roy.
That's all our advice.
Roy, we've run out of time.
My closing is simple. Yeah. Security should be the focus of all agencies of government, and the leadership of this country need to come together. Let's stop playing politics with security.
Thank you very much. Curtis Adigba, lawyer, public affairs analyst. He was the first to say I'm no security expert, but I'm a concerned Nigerian. Yeah, and thank you also, Roy Ohidiebe.
No, you got it wrong again.
I say it for me so I can say it right.
Ohidiebe.
Hey, I was close now. Ohidiebe. Thank you very much.
Nearly does not kill a bird.
Nearly does not kill a bird. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for sharing your insights with us. And so that's our program. We don't do Saturdays, so I can't say catch us tomorrow, but do please catch us Monday by the grace of God. I am Yori Fulani. Have a great weekend.